Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're Group One and we're Microsoft. So, Microsoft is a multinational technology conglomerate that is the world's leading tech software company, and it provides many cloud computing, gaming, hardware, and consulting services with 242 billion sales just last year. And then on to the next slide, please. So the company's vision is to help people and businesses throughout the world realize their full potential, and their mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Their current objective and strategic intent for 2021 was stated that they're investing $80 billion into AI. This is probably due to the fact that in the industry today, technology is adapting to AI, and they want to aim to train 2.5 billion Americans, and they're investing $80 billion. Looking into their business model, we think they are a broad differentiation, aiming to target their income to different services and other different consumers. Their consumers, in fact, rely on the fact that they're a market leader. So the fact that they're in such a high position leads them to believe that they're a trusted source for a large consumer base. And I'll pass it on to the next person.
So Microsoft's company and industry analysis. Microsoft's diversification strategy is a broad differentiation, and it's diversified its business beyond its core competency, which was software. It's evolved into different areas of business like cloud computing, gaming, and artificial intelligence. It has been involved in major acquisitions of companies like LinkedIn and GitHub, which evolves its presence in social media. Microsoft also has heavily invested in artificial intelligence and partnered with OpenAI and allowed its products to be across different platforms like Bing and Microsoft 365 Copilot. Um, Ethics and corporate social responsibility. So Microsoft leads its corporate social responsibility with its pledge to be completely carbon emission free or carbon negative by 2030. These efforts actually reflect a strong commitment that Microsoft has to be socially responsible. I'll now be passing it on to Kaylee.
Thanks, Basil. So yeah, I'm just going to continue with the company analysis. So Microsoft actually has a multi-divisional structure that's built around product lines and geographic regions. This structure helps the teams focus on specific areas while supporting innovation at a global scale. Under CEO Satya Nadella, Microsoft has also reshaped its corporate culture around four core values, being growth mindset, customer obsession, diversity and inclusion, and One Microsoft. Upon stepping into his new role in 2014, Satya had the full intention of shifting the company's attitude from know-it-alls to learn-it-alls, where they actually embrace making mistakes and learning from them. His leadership has moved the company away from a rigid and competitive internal environment and towards one that actually values curiosity, learning, and collaboration, which is very important in fast-moving areas like AI and cloud. Now, for the industry analysis, we use Porter's 5 forces. So, to begin, the tech industry is highly competitive with strong rivalry among companies like Apple, Google, and Amazon, the big giants. While the threat of new entrants is lower due to the high infrastructure costs, the buyer and supplier power are more so on the moderate side because customers do have choices, but Microsoft's integrated ecosystem helps build a customer loyalty, while some suppliers do have a influence in specialized areas. And now the threat of substitutes is also lower just because few can actually match Microsoft's range and integration. Now passing on to Gabriel.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Now I will talk about the problem statements and a little bit of the other interview questions that we did. But before it happened, I want to talk a little bit of how was for me to get to the Microsoft guy. So first, I tried to reach a guy on Microsoft, and his name was Isaac Alonso, who is the current business development manager for Microsoft in Brazil, who actually manages the B2C Microsoft operations, right? But then when I reached him, he told me that he actually couldn't answer any questions without the approval of the legal team, and that relates a lot with our content and strategy too. So I felt it was really good to say before I talk about the problem statements. So the three problem statements that Fernando brought. Fernando is actually an ex-employee for Microsoft, but since Microsoft has a strict policy for answering questions, I reached an ex-employee. So the first strategic problem was piracy, with customers opting for free software and pirated versions of Microsoft products. So small companies and customers usually go to a Linux a free software and install a pirate Microsoft software in their laptops. The second issue was the high fixed costs from the R&D and high skilled team. So Microsoft always have the best employees and invest a lot in R&D because they want to be a first mover on the industry, on the tech industry. And the third issue was the supply chain constraints. So things like shortages and low labor, sorry, so and labor with low skills. So what actually happened is that they created a new factory in Brazil for the Xbox, and they couldn't find people skilled enough to build the Xbox, so they had to train them. And now a little bit of the other questions. We asked about leadership. How was the leadership in the daily basis? How was the culture? What type of structure Microsoft follows? And how was the day-to-day activities Fernando had? Now I'll pass it to Chris, who will talk about the strategic alternatives. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. So, hello everyone. Today, I'll briefly walk out through three major strategic alternatives. So, let's begin with the transition to subscription and cloud based services. So, by shifting from traditional software to cloud platforms like Microsoft 365 and Azure, Microsoft had reduced software piracy. Since these tools are hosted and licensed online, it's much harder to copy or use them illegally. So, this model allows for frequent updates, better security, and an improved user experience. More importantly, subscriptions have created a steady recurring revenue stream from past few years. So instead of relying on one-time purchase, Microsoft now benefits from ongoing payments, which helps with financial stability and long-term planning for the whole organization. Next, Microsoft has been forming strategic partnership to reduce the fixed expenses. High cost related to hardware production and logistics are managed by teaming up with the hardware producers, logistic firms. So just take an example like with products like Surface and Xbox. Microsoft shares development and manufacturing responsibilities. So this all collaborations helps the firm in reducing like lower the production and operating cost while also helping merchants and the customers by reducing the final product price they need to pay at their end. So this strategy frees the Microsoft to focus more on innovation and customer satisfaction. Lastly, we will talk about the Microsoft is investing in supply chain diversification and I would say international talent development too. So by working with multiple goods supply global suppliers, they are minimizing the disruption from supply chain issues. And at the same time, I would say Microsoft is leveraging AI and automation to streamline the logistic and production. They are also partnering with organizations and schools at the same time in key regions to build a skilled workforce, especially in areas where each talent is needed the most. This is not only supports the global expansion, but also helps to meet the demand for innovation and adaptability. So I'll pass on to my another colleague to go with through it.
So out of the three strategic alternatives that Krish outlined, we would recommend Microsoft to invest in supply chain diversification and global talent development. Diversifying their supply chain can help with their issues of constraints and make their supply chain more reliable in obtaining important parts for products. For smoother supply management, Microsoft should invest in global technical training, especially in AI. Using AI and automation can help eliminate supply chain barriers caused by forecasting issues, logistic issues, delays, and etc. AI training can help with the issue of the lack of skilled labor by providing employees with the skills and knowledge required for optimized logistics and manufacturing. In fact, investing in AI automation would also align with the strategic intent of the company, because the strategic intent of Microsoft is basically to invest more in AI and provide employees with more AI training. This would be really important for the company's strategy execution because AI is a big part of the company's strategy. Overall, expanding the company's supply chain will improve operations and ensure stability by eliminating risk and supply chain constraints, and implementing training programs can develop a well-skilled workforce that knows what the company's goals are and which direction they're working towards. I'm going to pass it on to AJ.
Yeah, just to jump in to look over the timeline, we thought that it could go over for 3 years. So in year 1, we could start developing this AI automation and assembly line. And then in the second year, we can implement some workforce development programs. And then year 3 would be implementing the training and like the performance assessments within the company and the employees. And the resources that we need to develop these plans is the AI automated supply chain systems, and invest in the education and the upscaling in the workforce at Microsoft. And we would also have to comply with like the ethical and legal labor standards as well. And Gabe can talk about some success
Exactly.
as well.
Thank you, AJ. So now I'll talk a little bit about the SMART goals that we created to implement this plan. Within the 3 years, we wish to have reduced the shortage by 25% and train and certify at least 10,000 skilled workers. Also, in each year, we wish to achieve 25% supplier compliance with training standards. And now, let's go to the conclusion statement. We created this conclusion statement based on the research we've made in Microsoft. So Microsoft remains competitive through innovation, integration, and strong enterprise focus. To address key challenges, it must continue investing in cloud services, global talent, and supply chain diversification to sustain growth and industry leadership. And that's it for our presentation. Thank you so much for the semester, and I hope you guys have a good break. Bye.